I'm Joseph,
I'm Nick.
and this is Fish Jelly.
Hmm. Yeah,
How are you?
I'm borderline delirious right now, but how are you?
I'm okay. But we'll make it quick. You're in Venice right now, and it's after midnight.
Day five. Today was probably the hardest day because I don't stay on the Lido, I stay on the mainland. And the first Sunday of every September, they have a regatta, a boat race. So I can't come back to the flat in the afternoon on that day. So it's
Oh,
a
so
long day.
you have to linger on the island.
Yeah, and which, I got all my review coverage done for the morning in my 5 hour break stuck there, but it's a lot.
Oh,
And then tomorrow morning I have to get up, or tomorrow morning is the last day that we have to get tickets as press for the last 3 days of the festival.
oh,
So I'll be glad. So after tomorrow, then it should be pretty smooth.
how was the flight there?
Uneventful, which is good, just fine.
Well, you are gonna provide at the end, since we don't have a secret movie, your favorite film so far from the festival.
Yep, because we just hit we just hemorrhaged Sunday, so now it's the we've just hit the halfway point.
Have you seen any celebrities?
Yeah, but I mean, I've mostly directors like Pablo Larraín. I walked right by, and David Fincher this yesterday morning. Jesse Williams, I walked right by me 2 mornings ago.
Oh, well, does he have a movie there?
I forgot to look up what he might be in. If he is, I haven't seen it yet.
Was he trying to was he wearing like a hat and glasses, or he was just out there?
No, no, he looked really good. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, so
Oh wow. Well, people seem to like when we talk about restaurants. So I forgot. Well, so we visited a place in the Arts District called Smoke City Char Bar. What did you
yeah.
think about that restaurant?
I find it so odd, some of these restaurants where you make a reservation, and we did not need to make a reservation, as I recall. It was dead.
No, and then I feel silly telling them. Like I feel like the loser saying I have a reservation and there's literally no one in here.
Yes. The food was fine.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
surprised. And there was
I,
more than enough because there were three of us. Granted, the third person was my mom who eats like a bird. But yeah, we took food home.
yeah, it's actually one of the few restaurants that had good elote, I thought.
Yeah, that was probably the best elote I've had at a restaurant.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was excellent. It was very creamy. And it almost tasted like maybe it was sour cream, but it wasn't super wet. We had some sort of pasta. Like I guess you call it like a ragu, where it was like the brisket. I liked
Mhm.
that a lot. The chili. I mean, the chili was made like a bowl of chili, but it was like half brisket. It was super hearty. I really liked it. The only downside is parking in the arts district is expensive and difficult. So it's a shame because it's like that's probably the number one deterrent of going out there.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but I would recommend Smoke City Char Bar. And then if they're listening, send me a gift card. But then I went to this Mexican restaurant last night called Calaveras in like the NoHo Arts District. And I think it's a chain. It's in the same like plaza that we saw where that movie theater is, where we saw Dark Tide.
Yes, there's one of those right on Silver Lake Boulevard, right where you get on the 101.
Really? That's what
Mhm.
that is?
Mhm.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure.
Anyway, the person I went with, they wanted that style of food. So I said, well, then pick a place. So they just picked it, and I said, fine. And then I arrived like a few minutes early. So he was calling me on the phone while I was in the restroom. And when if you get online right now and Google Calaveras, North Hollywood, like Yelp reviews, they're all going to say that it's really loud in there. And that's not a joke. That shit felt like I was in a nightclub. The music was blaring. It was impossible to hear anything. It was outrageous. I felt like I was like, I mean, take like the most annoying restaurant, like in the Gaslight or like on the Strip, like, you know, those super annoying, loud, like, and it was.
The gas lamp, did you mean?
I meant gas lamp. I said Gaslight. I meant the gas lamp district in San Diego. But that, like that kind of place, but it felt so out of place because we're in like an area of NoHo that's not touristy. I don't think anywhere in NoHo's touristy, but like this is not a touristy area. Why do we have this restaurant? But and then it's open, like windows are open to the street, so you can hear this music blasting from down the block. But I didn't want to be difficult because if it would have been just you and I, we would have turned right the hell around. But I'm like, let me sit here. And oh my God, the service was, like the guy was friendly, but it's so loud that he was screaming everything and then couldn't hear anything. So he must, I mean, the number of times I had to repeat myself just to, I felt bad for those people. And then like, to make it even worse, when there's a birthday, oh my God, the staff have this big sign they carry around that says like Feliz cumpleaños, happy birthday, one side, the other. And then they have that fucking, or excuse me, you know, that like metal thing that people spin and it makes that sound. And then they had a cowbell.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
It's a literal nightmare. If I worked there, I wouldn't last like my shift before I quit.
I wish that people would understand that it is not special to have strangers that are held captives sing happy birthday to you. It is not.
Well, does anyone like that? Except
children, besides children.
Or the people who arranged it. They think it's funny.
It's not.
I mean, I will say there's a restaurant in I think it's like Lower Azusa that we've gone to a few times because my family lives near there.
El Cielito Lindo.
Yes, El Cielito Lindo. They have their birthday. It's funny because it lasts a long time and the restaurant's small. And so one time I had them do it for you because I thought it was funny. And it wasn't even.
They didn't verify, they just saying.
No. But yeah, that was miserable. I wouldn't go there again. You'd have to pay me and I would still have an attitude.
You know, the name always makes me think of that Mark Twain story, the Calaveras County with the jumping frogs of Calaveras County.
Oh, I'd have to look that up. Well, I would much rather spend 2 hours with that Calaveras than this one. But anyway, I need to address something I said last week that made people upset. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
So in our live video last week, I made a comment saying that I think it's funny that Fantasia wrote a memoir, and in her memoir, she said she was illiterate. So you didn't write that book, girl. That was the statement I made. And then I made a short, and the caption for the short was, has anyone read Fantasia's memoir? She hasn't. So I got a lot of comments and like DMs saying that was mean and like they can't believe I would say something like that. And I'm not doubling down on it, and I do agree that it was mean-spirited. The thing that I think was the most mean-spirited is saying in my caption that she hasn't read it. Although I will say there is a YouTube web series called Got to Be Real, and she's one of the cast members on this web series, Fantasia. It's a fictional like reality show, but her entire storyline is that she's uneducated, but that's no excuse. so that's it. Like, I think that it wasn't very nice to say that. However, if you think about, like, if I said to you, oh, there's this person who wrote a book and they're illiterate, you would immediately laugh like it's absurd. And it is
It,
absurd.
it is, but I mean, I'm assuming since she has her GED, she's no longer classifiably illiterate.
But, and again,
You can tell when she posts shit online, so she can read something. So she's technically not.
well, when I said it, it wasn't my intention, like, oh, I'm gonna come for Fantasia. I really like Fantasia. I watched season 3 of American Idol where she won back in 2004. I've been a huge fan, seen her in concert many times. So have you. We watched her reality show, Fantasia for Real. I've gone to New York twice to see her on Broadway in The Color Purple. Um, so, it definitely wasn't me trying to be like shady towards Fantasia. It's just the absurdity of it. And when I think about her and that memoir and her Lifetime biopic, which she stars in and you bought for me.
I bought well, at the time there was only a bootleg copy, but
Right.
yeah, thanks eBay.
I just think like the absurdity of like these, like, because it also reminds me of that documentary we watched 2 weeks ago about the hatchet wielding hitchhiker. Like, it seems like in modern popular culture, anyone who gets any shine, it's like, let's throw them out there. Let's see what sticks. And we like idolize these people and put them on pedestals without really knowing their story. And when I think about Fantasia, when she was on American Idol, everyone made fun of her. Like, she's so ghetto, she's so country, she's a teen mom. They dragged the hell out of that young lady while she was on the show. Then she wins and it's like, oh, she's so great. Then she, a year later, writes the memoir, which I did read, because some of the comments, I deleted a lot of comments from it, but some of the comments were like advising me that there are different levels to illiteracy, and I understand that. I'm familiar with it. There are people in my family who are functionally illiterate, so I'm aware of that. But in her the memoir, which I read, she said that she could not read the contract she signed on American Idol. She said that she couldn't even read the lyrics to those damn songs she sang. So she had to memorize them. And that her biggest fear was that she would forget the words because she can't read. So her reading comprehension was low. Not to use that as a weapon against her, but, to answer that question, like, her reading comprehension was very low. But I just think it's funny that people sort of dragged her for that. So then she's low, then she's up because she won. Then, if we remember, she had an affair with a married man.
Yes, and there was a suicide attempt.
And then there was a lawsuit against her from the wife of that man who left her because of Fantasia. So then people started dragging her again. Then she attempted suicide, and then she's back in everyone's
at the same time that album dropped.
Right, which is, who knows, coincidence. Then she was on The Color Purple in Broadway and had a series of like cancellations, which was like a thing because the 2 times I went, one time we had to reschedule because thankfully we were going to the Saturday show and she canceled the Friday show. So I was like, well, she's been canceling a lot, so maybe we shouldn't go this weekend. And it turned out she did cancel that Saturday. So we rescheduled for a different time. But it's like, she's had a lot of highs and lows. Oprah didn't have her, when Oprah was inducted into the Kennedy Center Honors, the song I'm Here, which is from the Color Purple musical, which Oprah produced, Fantasia sang that song. But at her Kennedy Center Honors, Jennifer Hudson sang to Oprah. So then Fantasia had made comments about how maybe she's upset with her. But then now we know Fantasia's in the new Color Purple movie. She's had an amazing career. She's a fantastic vocalist. I really love her as a performer. I feel bad that it was made, like, it wasn't my intention to make fun of her. But I do think it's absurd that, her management, everyone thought like, yeah, let's have this young lady like a year into her celebrity like write this very exposing memoir that she
Intimate.
yeah, very intimate, like a lot of trauma. She, she's been through a lot, and then have her tell all this stuff about herself. And then it's just like, I don't know, it's just kind of wild. Like, I don't know that a memoir on the memoir, they're very clear that someone else wrote it with her, like every celebrity. Like, that's not uncommon at all. But yeah, I do feel bad that someone might have thought that I was coming for Fantasia or making fun of illiteracy. It's simply the absurdity of someone saying they are illiterate in a book they wrote.
And I agree that there is comedy in that, and it's okay to poke fun of that without being mean spirited. But yeah.
Okay, I feel cleansed. Movies we watch for fun. You watched The Hunted?
Yeah, right before I got on the plane, I watched William Friedkin's The Hunted, which I hadn't seen since the year it came out. And God, I remember not liking it then, and I don't like it now with
Oh,
Benicio del Toro and comedy. It's just not very good. It and what's her name? Connie Nielsen again doing this accent. I don't know if you remember her Southern accent work in Basic with John Travolta, where because she's Danish and she's trying to do a Southern accent in that.
yes, yes, I do recall. You watched Tortilla Soup?
Yeah, on my flight because on my flight to Newark where I had a layover. I watched Tortilla Soup, directed by I believe Maria Ripoll, um, and has a great cast. Hector Elizondo is this Mexican American chef, and he has these three daughters that live with him, and one of them played by the great Elizabeth Pena, who's now dead. I have very fond memories of her as a kid because of Batteries Not Included in Jacob's Ladder. But
Didn't we see her? Didn't we see Elizabeth Pena in something recently?
I don't recall, but I know that every time I see her, I'm like, oh. But I've never seen this film. It's the screenplay is co-written by Ang Lee and James Schamus, which is interesting. And Raquel Welch, I believe is her last theatrical feature, as well as a widow that's trying to woo Hector Elizondo. It's just funny because all three of these beautiful women get courted by these men of varying ages. The teenage girl, I would love for you to watch Tortilla Soup, because the teenage girl's hair is terrible. I mean, this is 2001, and the man, this Brazilian student that's trying to date her, is, in my opinion, none of these men look cute. And I love Hector Elizondo, but Raquel Welch chasing after Hector Elizondo, I mean, come on. No. Anyway.
Well, you said it. You watched Viva Las Vegas?
Yeah, I finished reading Priscilla Presley's memoir on the plane, and I saw Viva Las Vegas, which I've never seen, was available. So I thought it was fitting that I should watch that, because in the memoir, Priscilla does mention being hurt by Elvis's affair with Anne Margaret.
Oh,
I don't know that I care for Elvis as a screen presence with that jet black hair. I just
oh,
don't. I don't think he's for me. I do like some of his songs, but I don't know. It occurred to me watching this that Michael Madsen must be trying to mimic Elvis with that same kind of jet black hair that he's had for years and years and years. Anyway, but Anne Margaret's gorgeous. I like her. And I know that we have a friend that's obsessed with her that showed us that clip of her dancing in this. And those are the best scenes, is Anne Margaret dancing.
oh, okay.
It's like in my mind, I would fantasize about dancing like that, not unlike Liz Taylor and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Oh boy. Um, well, I watched Batman and Robin.
Blech.
Uh, I that was not a good movie. I
No.
was surprised how much I didn't like it. Woo.
Mhm.
The best part of it is Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yes.
which is
Who's
oh, go
is
ahead.
Uma Thurman is Poison Ivy, right?
That's right. which is a shame because I actually thought the story is really interesting because Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's a scientist who had an accident that caused him to be this mutated ice person. But his life's work now as this villain is trying to collect resources to create the science to save his wife, who he is like kept like alive, like cryogenically or something. And then Uma Thurman's like a scientist who wants to preserve Mother Nature. So her plan is to get rid of all the humans to take back Earth. I found it very interesting, but man, George Clooney as Batman, I like George Clooney, but it was really awkward. And when he wasn't speaking, his nonverbal like acting, like them walk, like there are a lot of scenes where he's walking towards the camera or he's making these really odd faces. Chris O'Donnell is like, it's weird. The two of them together, they don't seem like they have chemistry. And then I don't understand. I don't think those characters were well written, like mentor, student, and the student feeling like they want to step up and not be babysat. But instead, Chris O'Donnell seems kind of like a brat. And
Isn't that in Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl?
I disliked her the most. I just did not like her. Oh, anytime it was like a close-up of her, like on the computer, she's like, Alfred is dying. So she's trying, but she doesn't know that. So she's doing these motorcycle races to raise money to get him out of like Wayne Manor because she doesn't understand his role with Bruce Wayne. So she thinks he's just a servant and she thinks it's like demeaning. I thought that was so stupid. Like, this old man seems happy and he told you he is and he didn't ask you for shit. I don't know. Why are you doing these dangerous motorcycle races to raise money to get him out of there? Yeah, I didn't. Oh, well, actually, the worst part of it probably is, and I don't know if this is just because I'm watching like a remastered version that's on a streaming platform, but the ADR was really odd. It sounded like it was always like half a beat off. Yeah, no good. That's the only one George Clooney did.
No, he did two. He did
Oh,
Batman. Right? I thought I remember it because Batman Forever is Val Kilmer.
well, another thing I didn't like is the editing. Like they try to make like all these sexy, like with the suit, and we see like the butt and the nipples and the crotch, and I didn't
Yes,
understand why we were doing that.
Joel Schumacher introduced the nipples. Yeah. Who was
I don't have
gay?
a problem with the nipples, but there were a lot of shots of like when they're getting dressed, like it zooms in to the butt, like Girls Gone Wild style. I don't understand why we were doing that.
Maybe Clooney only did one. I can't think of the title of. Maybe that is his only one. Yeah, because then after that it would be Christopher Nolan.
Well, I can see why they probably were like, we're good because it's also before he got his teeth done. So his smile's not what it is today. And I think because he's in a mask and that one long tooth is really like, it's hard not to focus on. Well, I mean, you're on this big screen and you're wearing this mask and all we see is your mouth and your eyes, and very interesting. Did not work for me. Okay. So now, there unfortunately is an entry in the obituary section. Jimmy Buffet died.
Oh,
Do you have any connection to him?
my mom had some tapes.
My only knowledge of him is I'd seen him in concert, but he has Margaritaville, and there's a Margaritaville on the strip next to the hotel I used to work in. So I would always think of well, and then Sammy Hagar has.
Yeah, Sammy Hagar.
So I always think of those two, and they have like these themed restaurants. But yeah, he passed away a few days ago.
How old was he? I didn't even. I've been completely out of the loop with every.
76. He was
Okay.
76.
I did hear someone died at Burning Man.
Oh, that's why I was seeing those videos. I was wondering why people were talking about Burning Man. I didn't realize Burning Man was even happening right now.
Yeah, someone died.
Oh, well,
So
Sorry to that person, I guess.
that's the obituary.
Okay, so getting to best of the fest so far at Venice.
Yeah, I figured I'll just talk about worst at the end, so I'm not doubling down on my dislike.
Okay, you have 6 films listed. Do you think these will be in your top?
At least four of them.
Okay, so there'll be a little double dipping when you make your recap
Yeah,
video.
that's okay. I mean,
I'll let you talk however you want to organize it.
okay. So I liked Maestro with Bradley Cooper directing his sophomore film where he stars as Leonard Bernstein,
With that
who,
fake nose.
it's not that distracting watching it. It's not like he has a small petite nose anyway. It didn't bother me at all settling into the film. But Bernstein was gay slash maybe technically bisexual, but and it details it's an intimate portrait of his life with his wife Felicia, played by Carey Mulligan, and it's really more of a vehicle for Carey Mulligan. And I think the second half of the film is actually quite good. However, if you don't know anything about Leonard Bernstein, I don't know that you are learning. In the periphery, you hear about some of his accomplishments, but I could only keep thinking of Tar because last year Tar premiered, and if you remember, Kate Blanchett's Lydia Tar, her mentor was Leonard Bernstein, and
Oh yeah.
I can't. I think I wrote about it in my review. It's like I would have loved to see her pop up this like brazen lesbian trying to get his attention, especially towards the end of his life, where he's really kind of only focusing on young, handsome men to mentor.
Next.
The Theory of Everything I liked, which is not the Stephen Hawking biopic that Eddie Redmayne won his Oscar for. It's a German film directed by Tim Kroger that's in competition. It's set in 1962 in the Swiss Alps and is kind of a sci-fi love story about the multiverse, but very much in the vein of a Fritz Lang, Alfred Hitchcock film from the late 30s or early 40s. So I really liked it.
Next. Dogman.
Okay, so I'm very much in the losing camp on Dogman, and I'm not going to defend it as an actual good film because there's a lot of it that's just not well done or just really silly. But it's in competition. It's the new Luc Besson film. But I was very taken with the Caleb Landry Jones performance as this white trash child that was horribly abused to the point where he became locked in a cage with a bunch of dogs and was injured,
Oh,
paraplegic, and then grows up into this drag queen mafiosa savior of the neighborhood. It is so bizarre, and I thought Caleb Landry Jones was kind of magnificent, certainly magnetic. It
that sounds really good to me.
again, like it's really rough around the edges in other regards, but every time he's on screen, it was making me think if this had been made in the 70s or 80s, it felt like a Walter Hill script that got pushed away in a drawer somewhere, and then somebody a decade later tried to dust off and make it not very well. It has shades of Tim Burton. I could imagine Brando, kind of like in his Island of Dr. Moreau phase, or even Betty Davis towards the end of her life, kind of giving the energy that he's giving. I really liked him.
I would definitely watch that one. We saw him recently.
Yeah, he was at the Grove. I forgot about that.
Next is the Kane Mutiny Martial.
Okay, so well, William Friedkin just recently passed, as we've talked about many times recently. And there's of course, Edward Dmytryk Kane Mutiny classic, starring Humphrey Bogart, based on the Herman Wouk novel. And then Robert Altman made the segment of the trial portion, the Kane Mutiny Court Martial in 87 or 88 as a TV film, which I also watched. But this was Friedkin's last stand. And I thought it was superb. and I've seen two different versions of many different people playing these characters, and this was transportive in a different way than either of those previous two directors, I think, didn't carry it. It was very well done. Jason Patrick and Lance Reddick, who's also sadly gone now, I think are pretty damn good in it.
Next is Poor Things.
Oh, Poor Things is like close to a perfect film. I cannot wait for you to see it. And I read this book recently. It's the latest from Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo. And I know you are a fan of Willem Dafoe. You're gonna love Willem Dafoe in this.
I am a fan.
It is so good. It's like a revisionist, feminist, Victorian era. It is a masterpiece. The one element that the one thing that sticks out as kind of a sore thumb is, and I'm a fan of his, but I didn't think Gerard Carmichael was very good. It's a small role, but I didn't. But the production design, the soundtrack, Emma Stone's performance, even if you want to get kind of technical about her iffy British accent, I thought it was fine. I think you're gonna really enjoy it. I know you're not even that big of an Emma Stone fan, but it is.
Hell no.
I think
I'll check it out.
You're gonna like it.
And then number one on your list so far?
La Bête, which I just gave a very rare 5-star review to that published today.
Oh, aren't they lucky?
Well, it's the latest from Bertrand Bonello, who I'm a fan of anyway, and Léa Seydoux, who I like and find like just captivating on screen. And George McKay is her co-star. It was a role that was meant for Gaspard Ulliel, who died in that skiing accident right before it went into production.
Where do I know George McKay from?
I think I talked about him a lot because I wanted you to watch Femme, which I saw out of Berlin.
Oh.
You've seen him. If you look at his face, you'll recognize him.
Oh, The True History of the Kelly Gang.
You watched that?
No, but I remember the image when you talked about it. I remember looking it up, and I remember the picture. There's a picture of him in front of a flag.
Yeah, the Justin Kurzel film. Yeah, he's quite good in that too. But this is very loosely based on a 1903 novella by Henry James, who's an author I also love. I actually read that at the beginning of this year because Patrick Chiha also made a version of this film this year in a very different vein that I liked, but I loved La Bête. It's set in 3 different distinct periods: 1910, 2014, and 2044, and it's not to go on and on because I'm going to be talking about this film probably multiple times throughout the end of the year. Well, I don't know that it'll get a theatrical release this year, but kind of about. There's a quote in the film about how passion is only possible when you're lacking fulfillment, like you aren't feeling passionate when you feel fulfilled, and how this kind of notion of unrequited love, once you satisfy that, what happens.
I'm gonna read a 4-line description of the movie. In the near future, where emotions have become a threat, Gabrielle finally decides to purify her DNA in a machine that will plunge her into her past lives and rid her of all strong feelings. She then meets Louis and feels a powerful connection, as if she had always known him. The story unfolds over 3 distinct periods: 1910, 2014, 2044. So it's a science fiction drama.
Kind of. It also feels very much like if you collapse several different Stanley Kubrick films, like Barry Lyndon with The Shining, with maybe what he would have done with AI. It's, yeah. And the final shot, the final moment, oh my God. It's long.
I see that. Yeah, it's 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Oh, it's so good.
I won't have you spoil it on this video, but I'm curious to know if she did know him.
Well, you know how I feel about Léa Seydoux and Bruno Dumas' France. I had a similar feeling at the end of France. Yeah, it's
Well, maybe they'll put your pull quote on the cover of this Blu-ray.
well, it's clear if it's something that I love this much, it usually means that a lot of people will also hate it as equally. So I haven't read like as soon as because this I had two back-to-back screenings this morning. It was The Killer, the David Fincher, and this, which is like damn near 5 hours of film. I ran off to a quiet place to write and not talk to anybody because I didn't want anybody else's opinion to mar what I was thinking. And I wrote a very long piece about it actually.
Mm.
But yeah.
What? So there you have it. Best of the fest. What's the one movie everyone was looking? Oh, there's an Isabel movie.
Oh yeah, Sidonie in Japan. I didn't love it, but
Well,
she looks good. Uh,
we'll save that for later. Isn't there a big movie everyone was looking forward to? There's one that I feel like people were talking about.
the Fincher.
I don't know. I thought there was like a mainstream big movie that was there that people were excited about.
Well, maybe
Is that Scorsese movie at Venice?
that was Cannes. That was
Oh,
at Cannes. Hmm.
I don't know.
Well, there was, the new Polanski was here, which I saw, which I didn't love. And
Okay.
tomorrow morning's new Woody Allen. But I'll give a more complete rundown.
Yes, you will.
Uh,
Uh, well, I know it's like 1 a.m. now.
mhm.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the people?
No, I'm really looking forward to shower and a sleeper, a crema sleeper.
Okay, we'll let you do that. Oh, yep, get more wine. Ta ta for now.